Welcome back to Block TV. Now, as you can tell, we are not in the studio due to restrictions by the coronavirus, but as they say, the show must go on. And joining me today is Ethan Pierse of CryptoAssets. Ethan, thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Good to be in the living room.
Same here, same here. Now, there is news besides coronavirus actually going on in the world, and apparently China might not be the first to CBDC.
Yeah, well, so obviously lots of people have jumped into the central bank digital currency game, and actually we're probably even doing considerable work in the space before the kind of Libra push that caused everybody to get into this. But yeah, given the fact that we haven't heard much from the purported demo or beta testing or other things of the digital RMB, and obviously with having more significant things to deal with over the past couple of months, it does seem to be like that has probably slowed significantly. And so what we've seen recently, lots of other projects moving forward, and we know that like right now the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank has launched about a year ago. They launched a project to create a CBDC pilot across the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, which is Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Kitts, Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and Grenadines. So all of that to kind of unify the central currency across them. And soon they'll be transitioning to a 6-month rollout. And so that looks like something that's going to be on the ground within, by the end of the year, over the next couple of months, actually. So that could be one of the first ones to really hit the ground as moving forward. Sweden has the e-krona that is kind of in a testing mode right now, but this one could potentially be even more of a deployment as we see it moving forward. So they want to create this DXCD, which is the Eastern Caribbean dollar, but digital, and have that to be something that facilitates peer-to-peer transactions and anything between consumers and merchants across the region, specifically with the goal of dropping cash usage, but also just facilitating all of those payments and dropping fee structures. So that's actually a pretty cool thing. It's already in production. It's already moving forward. So we'll see exactly what that looks like as it gets more data about its usage and kind of being pushed out there. But on the related note, with the Eastern Caribbean side of things, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange also just announced on March 10th that they are partnering with BlockStation to pilot digital assets trading. So everything around the tokenized security token space, whether just the tokenization of the asset, then listing it, trading, clearing, all of the liquidity, secondary market type stuff, putting that all in place. And so they've identified a platform. They're rolling out all of the functions that they'll need to in order to be able to create any kind of crowd-funded raising around any kind of an asset that can be tokenized. So they're all the typical stuff like streamlined KYC and AML, and adding in insurance and creating custodianship solutions, and even having a chain watch tool to allow regulators to track kind of the source and flow of those assets in real time. So that's all pretty cool. Those are two really interesting stories that are kind of coming together at the same time now in the Caribbean, and could be really fun to see how that digitizes an economy that we wouldn't necessarily automatically think of in that way.
Well, especially right now in the way kind of the world economy shut down, it'd be interesting to see how these digital tools, just like the only way that we're able to continue working and speaking right now is through this digitization of kind of communication. We'll see how hopefully if these digital currencies and digital tools could also help spur the economy in these trying times. Now, you did mention Sweden. And their central bank's trying to do some innovative stuff with digital currencies as well. What's the story there?
Yeah, so we talked a couple weeks ago about the launch of their e-krona year-long pilot, where they're developing that. They already have one of the lowest cash usage statistics in the world. I think it's around 10%. And so for them, it's about providing a government kind of central bank-backed solution to the way people spend money instead of having to go through third parties like credit card issuers. And so to add into that, they said that, well, the Riksbank, which is the Swedish central bank, had a quote that said, we're one of the smartest ones about this now because we're doing so much work on it, and which I think is good for them to be aggressive and jump out there and really dive into this. And so they're trying to attract a digital currency innovation hub from the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, so kind of the bank of the central banks. And what that would do is, there's already one in Singapore, I think, and in Switzerland and in Hong Kong. And this would be basically, these hubs are a way for the BIS to kind of push out their activities around the world and really focus on how policy and just the general subject of interbank settlements is being dealt with. And so this is from a policy perspective, from a regulatory perspective, this would be a big bonus for Sweden if they were able to land this and have it be there. So the Riksbank has asked for an amendment to the act that empowers them to give them the budget that needs to be done for this. And then moving forward, they're looking to put that into place. So at this point in time, it's not a huge story in terms of details about what has happened, but they're pushing very hard to kind of leverage this early mover position as a central bank digital currency to kind of say we should be the next outpost for the BIS.
Mm-hmm. Now it's interesting because even though China is where this whole thing started, but it seems like China is seemingly, according to reports, kind of the first country to kind of moving past it. Their case numbers for coronavirus are low, and so far they've only had, so far today, 23 new reported cases. And seemingly they might be the first economy to kind of get to stand up and move post corona. And Alibaba actually is importing an e-commerce platform and adopting blockchain traceability. So it'll be interesting to see what's the story there, because it seems like China will be the first economy to take the steps and show the world kind of what things will look like post corona.
Yeah. So I do, depending on how they are able to get everything moving again and how quickly, that could definitely be the case. Especially, we even see it now. I mean, you shouldn't really be using cash to buy things whenever people are trying to avoid contact with each other. So we've already seen everything move very digital, at least in terms of using cards or contactless payments. So I think that's going to be a big push towards these digital CBDC ideas to move faster. And so specifically, Alibaba bought a platform called Koala I think it was last year, and it is their import e-commerce platform. And so it's just another one of their pieces of their puzzle around their activities that they do. And they just launched a blockchain built with Ant Financial that allows them to basically trace all the logistic goods for anything purchased on the site. So users on the site, whenever they pass an order, they'll be able to track anything that's been bought as it comes in, and it provides it with some anti-counterfeit measures and more secure tracking system for all of that. So this, Koala is looking to reach this year. Their goal is 62 countries and regions, and so very much an international play. And when you start dealing with international, any type of e-commerce and logistics, you start to have a lot of problems at borders with package tracking and different stuff. So this allows them to really match the goods correctly, get all the logistics information they need, share it, and for customers to be kind of have a very transparent and full approach. So this is an interesting thing to see blockchain being pushed into this space. It's an obvious space, but it's one of those things that we need scalability. And so for them to be pushing all of this there, it's a good sign for enterprise tracking.
Mm-hmm. Now, you spoke about, obvious places for blockchain. Right now with a lot of fears that the healthcare systems could, be on the verge of dealing with a massive influx and kind of being overrun. A new study showing that using the blockchain could actually save them $180 million plus streamline a lot of processes in this crucial time. What's the story there?
Yeah, so there's a study that was done. So the U.S. Food and Drug Administration had the Drug Supply Chain Security Act pilot project program.
The mouthful.
Yeah, there you go. That they ran, and there was a project with UCLA Health, which has 5 distinct pharmacies and 200 different clinics. They pushed out a pilot with a company called Ledger Domain, which is a blockchain development platform, to look at tracking, in this case, a single drug that they were working with, but to put into place something that would allow prescription drug tracking from pharmacist to patient. And that's because in 2023, the U.S. The Drug Supply Chain Security Act will require that all prescription drugs are verified before they are dispensed. And this is a big problem in the U.S. because there has never been any kind of verification requirements on U.S. pharmacies, and so in order to do that, they need a very robust but also very real-time system to do that. So according to one of the statistics from the company, 17% of prescription drugs in the U.S. are incorrectly dispensed. Doesn't necessarily mean that people are taking them, but that that there are errors that are being made in dispensing. And so in order to do that, in order to fix that problem, they are producing this system. And so with a real-time system in place, they can do a single scan of a secure barcode that is on the package of the medication. Basically provide them a near instant verification. And in order to do that, the Hyperledger Fabric solution that they put into place allows them to in this particular use case that they trialed, they were able to make it work. And what they found was that they were able to get a verification in about 50 milliseconds. And so this means that they only have to do one single scan of the medication, not scan it and then potentially do something else and then realize you have to scan it again. And so what that does is they were able to, between the efficiency of the scans, but also any paperwork that normally has to be done to say, okay, I checked this drug here, I checked this drug again, okay, I checked it again, and all these manual things, they were able to take that process down from about an hour of paperwork to less than a minute. And this also allows not just efficiency in making sure that it's the right drug and that you're doing this process faster, but it also allows for detection of expiration of the drugs and for counterfeit detection. And so all of that put together, this time savings and the efficiencies included, they determined that could create a $180 million savings in labor costs alone for the U.S. pharmaceutical industry. And that, on top of that, it could also have an impact on the amount of stock that has to be held because of problems with potentially the expiration dates or certain things with logistics, which could be another couple $2 billion in savings. So that's pretty cool. So they found that in this particular case would cost UCLA about $5 million to comply with the law, but on the other side could create a very interesting surplus in terms of benefits. So again, enterprise blockchain stories, I think, are pretty cool. And this one's pretty timely because as we move forward and looking to be able to make sure that things like drug tests, or disease tests, and we want to make sure that they're valid, we want to be able to measure to be able to validate the results and have maybe that stuff have a trust layer involved. These kind of enterprise solutions that are being tested and deployed and with good statistics and good follow-up means that maybe we're getting closer to being able to use these for some of our more urgent needs right now that we're having. In any case, some cool stuff in the enterprise blockchain space.
Well, thank you very much, Ethan. It's very exciting times, and thank you for taking the time to join us here, not in the studio, but in my living room. And looking forward to talking to you next time, Ethan, and stay safe out there. And for all our viewers at home, if you want more on blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and technology, make sure to check us out at BLOCKTV.com.
Take care, everyone.
Watch us on Amazon Fire TV and Roku.